especially.
Wonderful. Welcome everybody. I'll start with the acknowledgement of country. We, the District Council of Tumby Bay, begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land of which we meet and pay our respects to the elders past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Before I move on any further, I just want to congratulate the team that I've got around the table tonight. It's been a massive 4 years. Tonight is our last official meeting. We have navigated through COVID. We have had plenty of bumps in the road and whirlwinds and changing of guards and all of those sorts of things. So well done on your amazing effort over the past 4 years, and all the best to wherever your future leads, and well done on all your hard work. So moving on, so we've just got everyone in attendance and present today. I don't need to ask for any future apologies because we're going to handle to our wonderful new council. So 2.0 minutes of previous meeting, 2.1 minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 11th of October. Did anybody see any corrections? No? Looking for a mover on that one then, please.
I'm happy to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott, and a seconder.
Sorry, there was a.
Oh, there was?
A bit slow, I was trying to find.
Oh, good.
We changed the DIT date. Did that get changed in the minutes? There was a DIT meeting Friday for December 2024. That should actually be.
That's what you mentioned.
I think it was in the CEO's report.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not
Yeah.
in the minutes.
It doesn't hit the minutes. It's just that she's done the report.
Yep.
Beautiful. So you're happy to second
Happy to
as
second.
read? Beautiful. All those in favour? Carried. All right. 3.0 declaration of interest. Going to take that as nil. 4.0 deferred motions nil. 5.0 mayor's report. Obviously, I can't produce a mayor's report at the moment, but I do believe that there is a statement to be made this evening.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I believe that's the leader of the meeting to make a statement.
Sure, is the council content with that? Yeah, happy with that. Over to you, Councillor Laurie, thank you.
Just only a short one. I may not have realised that Mr. Smith, owner of a property that the council was preparing to sell, when I privately negotiated its purchase. Nevertheless, I should have taken more care to avoid the appearance of misusing information gained by virtue of my position. That's it.
Thank you. So I just need a motion to put forward from somebody that we've received that statement from Councillor Laurie.
Sorry, can we get a motion with a brief summary of that investment explanation being through the documents?
Yeah, sorry, that is what I meant.
Did it require?
Yeah.
Have you moved that way? Thank you, Councillor Tumby. Can I call for a seconder on that one? I'm needing a seconder on that summary, please. Not for the benefit of myself to receive a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Thank you. Moving on, 6.0 deputations nil. 7.0 community delegate representative reports. Any meetings or committee meetings that you've attended? Has anybody got any reports to give to council? No? Councillor Randall?
Just that a reminder that it's the big events that groups this weekend. It's a celebration, and it's got a very hard working community with the job leading role. Working very hard behind the scenes to make something happen. So it's from looking at the history looking at there's history events as well as old practice and modelling jumping castle for the kids for free. So it should be a good mix for Friday night and in the evening as well.
Lovely. What time does that kick off?
On the day itself, Saturday, basically,
Saturday.
10 o'clock.
What?
Get started and get out there early, got the parties, food stalls, etc.
Are there any other reports for council? Quite excellent. 8.0 questions on notice. Councillor Trember, there are a couple of questions here which have been answered. Is that to your content? There isn't any further questions we had from that.
No, and yeah, thank you for providing that. Yeah, I just thought this time of year with the stress that road network gets, I just thought it might be worthwhile as I'm seeing percentage that we actually invest into maintaining a country road network. Discussion point.
Okay, well done, thank you. All right, moving
Other
forward.
question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Can I ask the CEO through you? In a recent Sunday Mail article about the jetty, CEO was quoted as saying new jetty would cost between 15 to 20 million.
How about we leave that one for questions without notice? We're still on questions on notice at this
Sorry,
point.
I thought you were.
No, hadn't moved forward yet.
Oh, would you? Oh, okay.
I was
I had
just,
finished that.
Yeah,
I was
that's what I
just
thought.
giving
Sorry.
him a chance to answer the questions
Okay.
on notice,
Okay.
if there was anything further.
Yeah.
All right, we're happy with 8.0?
Yeah.
Wonderful, let's move on to 9.0. Councillor Randall,
Sorry.
question about the jetty.
Jump the gun. The question basically was regarding the CEO's comments in the Sunday Mail about the cost of a new jetty between 15 and 20. I'm just interested in where you got the figures from. So is that the sort of thing you expect to get a new jetty?
Yes, that's correct. So that's some high-level costings that DRT have provided us as part of some of the conversations we've had around their business case. And so we'll be looking at that for DRT.
So will we see that reflected in the business case that comes to council?
As I understand, I'm not writing my
No.
business case, but I assume that will be in there. Yes.
So that's an expectation. The community was interested. I'm not going to debate it, but just want to get the answers on that basis. Another question to the CEO is that I recently read on Facebook, in actual fact today, a post by Eric Cox, and I quote on the Facebook page. Eric has said, and he's talking about a privately owned pile driver barge pictured as permanently stationed at the Port Lincoln Marina and has a more than capable operating crew that are familiar with our jetty. Some of them, in fact, were involved with a comprehensive underwater study that was conducted for the WGA report only 2 years ago. I have inquired and they are willing to tow to Tumby Bay and effect repairs. Subject to them being invited to come and have a look before quoting. It's not the ideal thing to do the whole jetty job, obviously, but they may be able to do enough to get us back open for summer. He's referring to a barge with a pole on it, and members will just look at the Facebook page, some pictures there. My question to the CEO is, have we had any discussions with this what we can do?
No, we haven't. They are more than welcome to tender as part of the procurement process that we will need to go through to actually appoint a contractor to undertake the works on that jetty. And it will be up to them to prove that they have the capability and the insurance and know-how in order to effect those repairs.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we were told was stalled the process of getting work done on the jetty, but availability of the barge. And it's clear that there's a delay in getting access to the barge, so this is a good solution as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they are entitled to put forward a quote as part of that tender if they wish to. I don't believe they put forward a quote in regards to the original tender process that we've just gone through in order to price up the works.
So if they ask, would you be able to meet with them and show them the jetty they're quoting or get an assessment?
Yeah, as part of that tender process, and obviously anything we do for them, we have to be available to anybody.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I understand. My goal is to get the jetty repaired. Okay, thank you. That's all I've got to ask at this stage. I'll ask some other questions in the report.
Are there any further questions without notice, councillor Laurie?
Yeah, has anyone been talking to Kate Party lately regarding their progress or what they're doing?
I have spoken to them for a while, but I do believe they've got quite a few people interested in the hydrogen component that they're currently seeking expressions of interest on.
The other thing that's a matter that I've brought up previously a lot of times, the drains in Tumby Bay aren't working.
Have you got a question, councillor Laurie?
Yes. Why aren't the drains in Tumby Bay working? And I'll tell you why the drains in Tumby Bay aren't working, because the water does not run uphill. And when you get drains that are landlocked and the drains can't run in there, then you get a problem. There's a real mosquito problem in Tumby Bay, and the hourly run drains is not a good problem. But they are definitely not working. You can tell me whatever you want.
Struggling to find a question there, councillor Laurie.
Yeah, well, my question was, I'm just explaining why the drains aren't working. And I want to know why they aren't working. And, I don't want to be given the same info that you've given me before. The drains definitely aren't working. There's undergrowth in the drains.
I'm unsure what other information we can find to give you.
There's other information, there's other vegetable matter in the drains that's stopping the water from running through the drains. I'd like a report back from council why the drains aren't working. And I'm sure other councillors have seen the drains and I'd like to hear their comments.
Councillor Elliott, do you have a question?
And actually, I think we're not the only people that have got mosquito problems. I think that's at this time, that's and through many reports that we've read on this, about this subject, we have a very critical level across Tumby Bay. I was in Bendigo on Saturday, and they have a lake in the middle of their town, and it is covered with the same sort of algae that's there. So I'm not sure where.
I think it's best that I shut down this debate. Anyway, moving further, are there any further questions? Councillor Trumbo, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question in relation to the change in rating method. So is it correct that that's now been moved out by 12 months? And second question, are we expecting to have the capital valuation still early next year as we spoke about a few months ago?
I'm assuming we will negotiate that with the Budget General's office, and that will give us plenty of time to evaluate the line and undertake consultation and consider the options.
Excellent. So that'll be more like a 12-month process then rather than.
That's 6 months. And it will allow, obviously, the additional 4 councillors to consider the matter fully as opposed to being caught up in the nice machinations of it.
Are there any further questions before we move on? No, marvellous. 11.0, motions on notice nilled. 12.0, council committee reports nilled. 13.0 is officers' reports with the CEO officers' report. So to page 6, we've got capital works. Are there any questions? No questions, marvellous. I'll just take that one as noted. So page 9, we've got the CEO report. Are there any questions to the CEO on that one? Councillor Randall, you have a question?
I did indicate that I was going to ask a couple of quick questions. The CEO has indicated in the report that she went to the tourism awards because Tumby was shortlisted, I think.
A finalist?
A finalist, yeah. Who else went with you?
The mayor went with me. Paul Roberts from SA Car and Lex is my exactly who's on his list.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the Community and Economic Development Officer was unable to attend as she had COVID.
Oh, okay. And we did we win anything?
Unfortunately,
So
unfortunately not.
I'm assuming we didn't.
No, but We have received the feedback in regards to our submission. The submission was 10,000 words that Marcy predominantly put together. We've done well with that.
Sure.
But unfortunately, the winner was a fringe event held at Beaconsfield, so it's a little bit hard to
Yes.
compete with organisations that run events. And second one was the runner-up was Adelaide Guitar Festival, and then third was Light Creatures. And some feedback that we'll be giving to the tourism group is that they need to have an award that is particular for community-led events or regional events or both.
Sure.
But I think we did very well considering
So we're in there as colour Tumby, but it was an event.
the Colour Tumby Festival.
Festival.
Yes. Yeah.
It was good that that's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the other thing? My second question is based on your information to us recently that you are going to, on Friday, to the Department of Infrastructure with the staff. Can you advise who the people were that attended that meeting?
So again, the mayor attended, and the mayor-elect also came along because he happened to be in Adelaide in any case, and I thought Hannah and I spoke, we thought it was worthwhile having him across that conversation. And we met with Andy Excel, who's the Executive Director of Transport Planning and Program Development, Emma Kokar, who's the Executive Director of Road and Marine Services, James Buda, who's the Director of Marine Services, and John Whelan, the CEO, did just pop his head in and had a quick chat that he had other commitments, so he's not able to meet with us.
Sure. I'm surprised that the event was not going in, but that's your call. Can you give us some information about what happened, sort of expectations?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I've got notes that I was going to raise later, but I'm happy to do that now. Move on to it quickly enough, I'm sure. So we only had half an hour with them. So they just gave us a rundown of the fact that they're working on a business case and it's very close to being finalised, and that they will provide staff with a copy of that draft report and then provide that to the minister for the minister's consideration. We have received an email today from the officer level, so level down, so they're still intending to come over and workshop at the end of November, they're saying.
Okay.
They don't have dates yet, so I have asked them that, to provide that to us as a priority. But the conversation that we had with the director level was that they would be coming to see us in the new year, so still getting a few mixed messages there. In regards to the a conversation in regards to future lease options, once that business case is complete and they understand what the minister's position is, they will be opening dialogue around that. But they want to look at a more sustainable lease option. This is a very broad level, high level conversation that we've had, but what they're thinking at the moment, and I won't guarantee that it's what lands on my desk, is that DIT will look after the actual infrastructure, and council would be responsible for undertaking visual inspections, making decisions if we need to close the jetty based on certain weather conditions. We'd look after the lights, the rails, those sorts of aspects of the jetty. So that was that's as far as we got at that point. And that was pretty much the discussion we had. I did ask them about council's requirement to hand the jetty back in a particular manner at the end of the lease. They're actually getting some more information and coming back to me on that. So they weren't able to respond to me on that.
We've been surprised at the answer to us.
Yeah, so Yeah, they need to investigate that further, but,
Yep.
that's pretty much what we got through in, that half hour.
I added to that, I did actually request for that answer to be given to us prior to this meeting. But
So
they
which are-
obviously haven't had a chance to get to it.
Yeah, they've had a look at it, but now they're getting some feedback.
Oh, it's not really.
So,
See, those aren't it. Yeah.
No, their answer, yeah, it was,
So that comes from.
yeah.
oh, they have let me know that they need to look into it.
Yeah. I mean, that's an ongoing thing. It's a positive moving forward. It's some information for the community to understand where we're going forward, which is important.
It was for a 30-minute meeting, it was a very, very positive and progressive.
So we didn't put any positions, we just basically listened.
Yeah, we just ask questions.
So, appreciate that. Thank you.
That's the CEO report.
I have
Sorry,
one
Councillor
question.
Trevor, question?
Yeah, is there any update on our works manager, lack of?
We're still going through the recruitment process.
Councillor Laurie?
Just got a couple of questions for Government. The workshop in November, is that going to be open to the public?
I can't answer that at this stage. DOT would need to advise me of what they're presenting and whether or not any of that will be in confidence from their perspective and the reasons why it would be in confidence.
Did, council didn't pay for the mayor-elect's plane tickets to go to that meeting, did he?
No, the mayor-elect was attending Adelaide on personal reasons and was available to attend the meeting.
You meet with anybody else, what do you
Oh, not that I'm aware of.
Can I go back to Councillor Trevor's question, and just make a comment that says that we haven't got an engineering person in place. Is it possible for this council to contract Tumby or another engineering company to do the work for us if it's going?
We can't have, there's nobody available to actually to attend in-house.
No.
But we've got relationships and Damien's been very familiar and working with Tumby, so yes, we do definitely have that backup.
The reason for asking that question is because early next year, the LC, whatever it is, fund comes out again, the fourth phase.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and we did indicate a desire to put out water, portion of water as a solution to the request for funding, which will obviously need some work. Will we be in a position to put that funding application? Do you think?
at this stage, what, we've spoken to other and master plan because the Coast Protection Board grants have just been released.
Yep.
And I have contacted Adam Gray from, who's the CEO of SA Coastal Council Alliance. He's going to get back to me with some suggested consultants.
Yeah.
And we'll get some quotes from them. And then the intent is to actually apply for a grant from the Coast Protection Board. They do a grant.
Research.
Yeah, but at an 80-20 split,
Yes.
so it will be subject to obviously money being available.
Sure.
And a decision of council, so I wouldn't want to preempt that, but the plan is that I will put to them an option to apply for that grant. And then that will be a master planning exercise for the foreshore,
Yep.
which will include the board.
Yep.
So, if that times in with the phase 3A money, I don't know at this
Phase
stage.
four.
So we haven't received 3A yet, phase, and now the new government's renamed the grant, so I think the name on that grant.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about phase 4.
Well, the research that I did was basically saying the gap was increased by 250 million, the original grant for phase 4, and that'll be available in July. So
Okay, so you
it gives some time for council, but the basis of my question is to see if the council is intending if we can, and it's obviously a question for the new council, not us, but one would hope that the new council can pursue that grant.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got the planning, once we've got the planning in
Yeah, exactly.
place, obviously we can then leverage grants to actually do the
Yeah,
work.
that's good. Yeah, thank you.
We've got any further questions in the CEO report? No, moving on to page 11. Another one for noting the RV Park Annual Report 2022 for Port Neil and Tumby Bay. Are there any questions?
Not sort of question, but just a comment, acknowledging Damien's generosity with his donation at the end, putting it back into the community. Again, it did last you too, I think, but just acknowledging that generosity to the things that he's donated and sponsorships and.
Any further questions or comments? No, beautiful. Moving forward to page 27. Yep, the draft annual report 2022.
So I apologise, it's not as pretty as it has been, but unfortunately staffing levels and illness has meant that we just haven't been able to produce that. But we have produced the words and met the requirements of the relevant legislation that we need to address. So I'm happy to take any questions regarding the what we've put in that report.
Any questions from anyone around the room? Councillor Randall?
I've already asked the CEO the question, but for the benefit of the community, I think an answer would be good if it's public. The message is from the CEO and and there's no mention of it in their reports, okay? My comment to the CEO basically was that annual reports are like history documents. People go back and do their research. This one will have no mention of the mayor previously, or yourself as mayor, which is unfortunate because I think both of you have served the community and recognition of what your perceptions were was really good, isn't it? But I'll let the CEO explain why not going to happen.
So whilst that actually says message from the CEO and for those that are in the gallery, my apologies, this went out without my wording in it, so the council, the elected members have actually got my report. And it's actually titled Mayor and CEO Report, but the elected members and staff, or executive staff, had training provided to them by television employers in regards to appropriate decision making and processes around caretaker. And one of the suggestions was that when it comes to the annual report, because we're in caretaker mode at the time of tuition, it would be inappropriate for the mayor to have a report as part of that in this particular year. So that's why it has been omitted from the report.
One last quick question. Is Councillor Ellie going to provide a photo?
Yeah, I've done a little scribble here. And there's an incorrect date.
Oh, is it?
Apparently we've only been lucky enough to have her for 3 months.
I'm happy to supply a photo.
We'll get a photo of you.
Page 46.
It's in the update bit.
It's in the update? Okay, thank you. Yes, we've got a photo of you. And when did you start?
It was 21, not 22.
Oh, of course it was. We'll make those amendments, thank you.
Okay.
I just need that.
Sure. So in the motion that we do have somewhere, it is on page 2. Yeah, so the motion just needs to change to approve instead of adopt.
Second word.
Sorry, where are we?
So, yeah, CEO, go down to where it says council adopts and just change adopts to approve.
Yeah, sorry, I lost you.
Yeah.
Right,
Up, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So that the motion that actually reads there, council adopts.
Dots, change that to,
To approves, please.
Sorry. gotcha.
Are there any further questions while we're at it? I think we've. No? Marvellous. All right, so we do have a recommendation that council approve the District Council of Tumby Bay Annual Report 2022 as presented. Have I got a mover? Thank you, Councillor Randall, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Trimberth. All those in favour? Carried. Magic. All right, so we've just got the report on our tables. The last one from the CEO about the Tumby Bay Jetty.
So obviously you've been provided with a lot of information last week in your workshop, and I trust that you've had a chance to reflect on that and read it again. As you may or may not know, I am in receipt of a further report from DIT that they have made very clear as confidential, and I'm not to make public. However, just for your knowledge, it does include some high-level costings, and to take the costings from that particular report and apply that against the report that we have had recently provided to us by WGA. The work that WGA require us to undertake in order to safely open the jetty would be in excess of $4 million based on those figures, and so I just need to make you aware that that is the figure that you would be looking at, would be north of that. I can't provide any more rigor around that particular figure, just to say that it would be north of that number, and that I think the work on the jetty has moved past the level of maintenance now. It is at such a stage that I think council is obviously not in a position to apply a maintenance frame to the jetty as such. So I'll take any questions and answer them as I can. Otherwise, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you. So questions, I'm sure that there's going to be plenty. Well, there is Councillor Laurie, thank you.
The WGA report, what would you say we can talk to, or?
You can't talk about the confidential report from DIT that was provided. You can't discuss that. You can discuss the report that I provided, that you were provided last week.
There was two,
Well,
wasn't
that's on the internet now.
Yeah, so the one that was provided last week is on the internet.
Yeah.
But there's been a subsequent report from DIT, and that's confidential, as per the emails we've been receiving.
So we can actually talk about the one that's on the internet. Right?
Yes, oh, absolutely, that's our report.
So we're saying with WGA saying the report that the jetty's closed on further notice until 6 and 7 components of the report and all the concrete encased piles are remediated. Has there been a cost done on that? Or is that what
If I apply that high level costing, that it would be north of 4 million.
So do we actually get a costing from them, or was that your costing?
It's been a costing provided to DIT for some particular options that they're looking at, and that would indicate to me that based on the work that WGA have provided to us, that those costings would be applicable to a certain extent. That didn't include the concrete piles, so we would be looking, based on that, looking at more than $4 million.
You really haven't answered my question. has there actually been a proper costing done on those components? I'm not hearing you saying, yes, it has, I'm just saying,
No, we'd have to go back and provide a scope of works to somebody to undertake that costing for us if we want that costing done.
WGA have recommended it be done. I just don't know why we haven't done it. It's just
Well, I
bewilders me, but
Well, we only got that report last week, councillor Lloyd, so,
I realise that, but
and I wasn't instructed to get the costings.
Further questions?
we have a couple more. On the actual jetty, since we've had a jetty for 23 years, or 24 years, do you know how much we've actually spent on the Tumby Bay jetty since we've had it, or is it really pine sky, we can't go that far?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, no. We have provided that information over the years at different intervals.
Yeah.
But I haven't got that one.
Just where we're putting money away in our reserve fund of $30,000 I don't know how long. Can't remember where that figure come from, or how we come to get that figure, or
No, it's just been indexed, basically, so council considers their draft budget and their long-term financial plan every year, and that's the number that's in there, and it's indexed along with all the other numbers that are in there in the long-term financial plan, and unless there's direction to change it, we generally start with a draft budget based on the long-term plan. And yeah, that's, council's never seen fit to put any more money in there than that.
That was for both Jim.
Yeah, that's correct.
But-
So both cities.
yeah, so that's been indexed each year from when we started putting that money away.
I can't go that far, but
No, just
certainly in more recent years, it's been indexed, that's what I'm
to, sorry, Rich, on.
We wouldn't get into a $4 million
We've used it for virtually all the repairs up to date, and as has been discussed at other times, and for a certain period of time, the department provided materials for maintenance repairs, and council had to provide for the actual work, and that was, yeah, that practice discontinued at a certain point, and from that point on, council was responsible for all the costs. That was the department's decision then and at the time when those proposals came about for remediation. Council's never borrowed money for the jetty that I'm aware of, it's just generally taking reserve funds. It's sufficient to cover the work side of it.
Councillor Lowry, you have
Yeah,
another question?
yeah, I was just looking at this. For the next coming budget, I guess 30,000 won't be budget to put in reserve for the jetty. What figure would you be looking at using?
So you're asking me. I mean, I think it's premature at this stage until we have some more information around, where we're heading with the jetty. And who's going to be responsible for the costs and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm not in a position to say council needs to put this much money into it. We've got no idea what the future costs are going to be, other than it's going to be a significant repair, but if we go down the path of remediation.
Yeah, because, really, we haven't, we haven't been putting enough away in our reserve fund to replace these over 20 years we've had them. To actually, in the next year's budget, I would think there would have to be a very big increase to that reserve amount to compensate for the depreciation if we keep on going with the jetties. I guess it's going
we don't
to
actually depreciate the jetties because they're not our assets.
sorry, maintenance. So depreciation for maintenance. Yeah. So that'll have to be greatly increased if we keep the jetties. I suppose that's what it boils down to, whether we keep the jetties or give them back or whatever the outcome's going to be. And yeah, just worries me the amount you're going to have to put in the budget to substantiate that amount of maintenance for the jetties. And talking a lot of money.
Councillor Randall, you have a question?
Yes, WGA seems to be the body that the government relies on for its reports, seems to be the body that we've relied on for the reports. Is there any other groups within in that sort of, I mean, Tompkins, I'm sure, would do engineering regarding Jennings. Is there any way that we would do what you would call a peer review report of the WGA report? In other words, get another opinion? Because we're being driven by one report, in my mind, which is pretty extensively written and, in my experience, designed to shock a community into action or shock government into action. But I just think we should have another opinion.
The answer is I don't know, but I can certainly speak to Tompkins and revert to you in regards to that question. I can speak to somebody there and find out if they're knowing their section, look at those reports or what the position is.
Can I just say, tonight's my last meeting, so the information will come back to the new council, because I believe they need to have a community information. I believe the new council needs to share it with the community as much as we can, so whatever you think in that area, we should. I'd like to indicate to you that I've got a motion to move forward, but I'm happy to wait. for
Well,
some
I'll
more
just see if
questions.
there are any
Yeah,
further
sure.
questions, because it's quite a chunky report. Are there any further questions before we move forward? Councillor Laurie?
The WGA reports, were they done by DIP or were they done by council?
So both, depending, both.
Share.
Which shared costs?
Some of them shared costs, some have been at the cost of DIT. So ones that are at the cost of DIT are obviously theirs and have not been made public, and the ones that we have undertaken and shared the cost with, we have made public.
So that's where you were saying earlier that one's not available to the public, one is, the one that's done by DIP is not available to the public.
That's correct. Yeah, that is their report for them to use as part of their business case.
And I'll just say it's appreciated by the community that we did share. Because,
So there's no reason why we wouldn't.
that's the
do that.
feedback I got on Sunday. People actually had something to give it, have a read of it, and ask questions of that. So wherever we can do that, much appreciated.
So there's no,
Yeah, so, it says that the lead times for, pylon is excess of 3 months. So when we met with DIT, December last year, I think it was Spiro, he said it was 12 months for pylon. Is excess of 3 months actually 12 months? Or just more than
It could
3?
be. So the last lot of information we have been provided by Maritime Constructions, who did that with quotes for us for the works scoped out for the LCRIP funds, was that we're looking at least that 3 month mark, because I believe that had come from China. So I could be wrong where they're coming from, but yes, I don't believe there are any in Australia at the moment.
Right, because yeah, obviously, we've given the information that the community is not, and it makes this really difficult. But, yeah, I haven't been presented with a scenario that allows us to open the jetty for summer, essentially, which is in 2 weeks. And if are these the only pylons that can be used?
There is the other person that's got the round piles that Damien discussed last week, and he may have some, but he can't do the full scope of works that would need to occur to get the jetty open. So there are those, but yeah, it's a bit messy. We can provide, we would have to rescope the works for the, as per the report that we've got from WGA, and we can then put that out for tender. But then obviously that procurement process takes some time. then any contractor that's appointed would then need to source those piles, source any other parts of that structure that they would require the barge, whether it's from Port Adelaide or Port Lincoln, and they would obviously need to fit it in with their own availability and current work schedules. So it's not a quick turnaround in any stretch.
And how long does the procurement process take? If we said tomorrow we've got money in the budget and
Yeah.
we're going to do this process, how quickly could we actually have something that
From going to, we'd have to get the work scoped initially, which would probably take a couple of weeks. And then we'd get Tompkins, I'll assume, involved in that. Again, just be aware that I'm not Damien, so I'm not familiar with the full process. But the tender would then need to go out. It would probably take, I would be thinking 6 to 8 weeks by the time they actually put their tenders together, because of the type of work they need to actually cost up. And then we would need to get a panel together, consider that, and then go back out to them. So we'd be looking at least 2 months. I would anticipate. So I don't, you have to give them a reasonable time to get their
but the recommend,
tender documents back.
but we're told it's going to be pushing $4 million or in a number of millions of dollars, and the shortest time frame will be months.
Yeah.
So we can open it at the shortest.
And again, we don't know what the availability of the contractor is, so they may have work already booked up.
We don't necessarily have much more information than the community does, but that's what be great if every single person in the community had the same information, and not in the future that information gets released.
I mean, I have obviously in this paper, enough paper put in that time in, just so that
We've got any further questions?
I had a resident provide me some information. It's probably relevant that goes to the process goes out to tender. They're keen to get somebody over from Western Australia who could supply the wood product. So I'll get back to them once the tender's out. Because what I'm hearing is that they're focused on a particular group in a particular way, and this is the reason we've got these limitations. You know, the local barge down at Port Lincoln is an option that may be able to provide some material. It certainly may be able to provide the hardwood from Western Australia, which was put to me. But these are options that we need to be somehow feeding into the system to try and get over these roadblocks.
I've got any further questions before I seek a mover? No further questions? No? Brilliant. All right, so Councillor Randall, you marked that you had a motion.
Thank you, Nick. It's in desperation of trying to get the jetty open and not close it that I want to provide a proposed solution. I move that council staff reallocate the $697,488 of local roads and community infrastructure program funds to be spent on the urgent repairs required at the Tumby jetty. That council allocate all funds held in the jetty maintenance reserve fund to be spent on the urgent Tumby Bay jetty repairs. 3, that council approves the transfer of funds within its budget, if required, to total the planned expenditure by council on the Tumby Bay jetty at $1 million. Council advises the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport of its action to allocate budgeted funds of $1 million and requests the Minister to match council's funds as a minimum, which will be $2 million, and possibly the amount to enable all works recommended. The reason I've done that is because I believe that we can start doing something, and we can start from the shore and work our way out. And as we secure the jetty, a bit more than it is now. In other words, fix the problems, that we could open the jetty. We mightn't be able to open every day. If there's a storm coming and strong winds and rough tide, we might have to shut the jetty. But I'm sure the community would wear that. I'm trying to buy time for this community to do something that we should have done 4 years ago. When I first got elected to this council, I started asking questions about the jetty because I was coming from the metropolitan area where the government was rebuilding the jetties over there, and I saw nothing happening over here. I had to understand it. So for 4 years, we've been working on this issue. And 4 years, we've got no response. So I'm hoping in my last council meeting to at least leave you with the possibility of a response and something that we could start doing and we start doing right now. I know that the reports, the technical advice we're getting are saying don't open the jetty till all the poles are replaced. I understand that. But sometimes reports can overstate situations for particular reasons. And as I said earlier, one of the reasons could well be to draw the minister's attention to the fact that Tumby Bay Council is in a state of disrepair and needs urgent attention. So what I'm hoping this motion would signal to the minister is that we at least, even though we haven't spent a lot of money on maintenance, at least can get together $1 million that we can put forward in a 50-50 process to get $2 million and start some work. Now, I accept what Councillor Trevor is saying. There'll be a time thing. There's a time thing that I accept. But let's start doing something with the hope of opening the jetty before the end of summer. On Sunday, I spoke with many people, and it's clearly evident that they want the jetty to stay open and to be reopened as soon as possible. I understand that, and they don't. They're coming from where they are. The business people who gave me examples of the loss of income already being felt because the jetty's closed. Young people, a couple of guys came up from Port Lincoln. They wanted to go jetty jumping. And they were very disappointed to see the jetty closed. However, they did go buy their lunch down the road to one of the cafes, so at least we got someone there. But it's a whole gamut of the community that are going to be affected if we keep that jetty closed, particularly over summer. Older people who indicated to me they just like to stroll off the jetty, get a bit of fresh air, and relax and for their mental health well-being. Some regular older people who even fish for the jetty because they can't afford a boat. New people who have just moved to Tumby Bay in their retirement and came so because they wanted to enjoy the jetty and clear, pristine waters of the foreshore. They came here for that purpose. So tonight is the time to get started on urgent repairs. Many have provided suggestions of what could be done. Many of the community have provided suggestions of what could be done, from sourcing the new wooden pylons from West Australia, tailor-made and shaped to be drilled in the sand, to maybe the possibility that operators of the barge at Port Lincoln could tender and begin activating some early repairs before the state government commits to their financial input. Apparently, the Port Lincoln barge operators know the jetty well. They were some of the divers who worked on the first WGA report. So they understand what's there. They could probably give us some advice. The work needs to be completed in the shortest time frame, given we are heading into summer. The urgent replacement of some pylons will enable early restoration and reopening. Even if the council decides that on certain stormy days the jetty needs to be closed, criteria such as wind strength and direction, coupled with tides and swell information obtained from the Bureau of Meteorology, can be used to guide regarding closure. At least we'll be able to enjoy the jetty during the latter summer months. This will buy time and get the jetty open again until discussions can occur before the 2024 lease has to be renewed. Council knows the requirements to renew the jetty's lease in 2024 and the legal responsibilities it will have at that time. We need time to allow for our wider community discussion and for wider community to have information provided to them. I ask you to support the motion.
Councillor Randall. So I seek a second for that one. Thank you, Councillor Laurie. Do you want to speak to the motion?
I agree with everything what Councillor Randall said, and I'd like to see what steps we can take to get the jetty open. And on the downside, it doesn't matter what motion we put up here, however, the new council can just make any motion they want. So I'm putting my case forward, I want the jetty open, and the new council can do what they want. So don't have to have any regard to what we make decisions on.
Does anybody else want to speak to the motion or against the motion? Councillor Randall?
Yeah, look, I agree with just about everything that's been said. So I'm the only councillor of this council remaining on the new council, so I'll probably have a different approach. But do we have to actually make the decision tonight, realistically? Because all the information we've had suggests that there is no chance that it will be open this summer anyway. We've heard that the WGA report needs to be complete at a tune of $4 million to open the jetty. So, yeah, we haven't been advised that there is an option to open it for a cheaper amount. So, for such a significant project, should we make this decision perhaps in a month's time or 2 months' time, or when all the community has the information available? But I want to see it open as well. But we also have 2 jetties in our district, and both require maintenance. And I really feel that perhaps we're better off either leaving this on the table or leaving the allocations as they are until the community has all the information. But that's me.
Thank you, Councillor Randall. Councillor Elliott, do you want to speak to or against the motion?
Yeah, I would like to see the against the motion. And with a lot of thought and agonised over it for a long time. It's my belief that all councillors, all of us, we want to retain the jetty for our community. That's a no-brainer. We love our jetty and what it represents to our community in the past, now, and more importantly, into the future. All age groups utilise the jetty. Many recreational activities happen from this jetty. The Tumby Bay jetty is very important to our community. I believe as we are in caretaker mode, it's advisable to stick with the course of action that we've taken, that is the LRCIP grant to be allocated to the Tumby Bay and the Port Mill jetties as per our previous motion. The reasons for that thought, it's obviously that there can be nothing achieved prior to Christmas because of the time frames and the lead-in times to get materials and contractors engaged. As with all local government, there is a tender process, and this is going to take time, and that's been outlined to us tonight. From the confidential meeting that we had last week, it's obvious that we, as a council, can't undertake the reduced remediation works as per the the WGA recommendations, and hope to get the jetty open. It's going to take more planning and financial input to achieve, which is what the CEO has pointed out to us. I think to stay on course as per the previous motion, this will allow time, and I think we're all talking about allowing time to negotiate with the state government, who are in the process of currently putting together a business plan with regards to our jetty. I'm sure the state government is aware of the impost on our small rural councils to maintain the marine infrastructure. It is way in excess of what our local budgets will allow, and that's not only our council. The state government are also aware of the financial and fiscal importance of our jetty to our local economy. There's been a delegation of local business people who have agreed to interact with the state government. This group has vast experience from the names that have been mentioned to me with dealing with the powers within the state government. Our own CEO and local member for Flinders have also been advocating, as well as our mayor, on our council's behalf to bring our jetty cause to the notice of those who have the ability to change and highlight our current situation. There is no guarantee, but I believe common sense will prevail, and rather than have a huge backup from all country areas who have the responsibility of jetties, the state government will have to provide a way forward for all rural councils. We need time for this to occur rather than to rush and do menial remediation, which will not enable our jetty to open in the foreseeable future. If we allocate the $300,000 to the Port Neal jetty and proceed to do the needed upgrades on that facility, 400, and these are in round figures, 400,000 for the Tumby Bay jetty to do the planning and or matching of funds for any government assistance which may come to hand. This decision could be looked at again in a few years in a few months with the new council, if that was necessary. But the important issue that it does give council time. It gives state government time. No one's happy to have the jetty closed, but it is vitally important to get a good outcome for all. Sometimes we have to let the process take some time to mature. Let's not rush out and cut off our options. There is time. Yes, the jetty is closed because of the wind and wave occurrence a month ago. If this hadn't occurred, we would have rushed forward with remedial work. That was the plan. Unfortunately, nature has spoken and taken its toll. Potentially this could occur again. We don't know. We are literally at the mercy of the sea. Let's prepare a jetty for our future. Plan to have the facility for the next 100 years so that the next generation can enjoy the jetty just as we have done and the previous generations. I believe that we need to stay the course and leave the motion as decided with the allocation to the Port Neal jetty and the Tumby Bay jetty at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. The CEO just wants to make a quick comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind you that we previously wrote to the former Premier and in a similar vein, Councillor Andrews, you probably recall,
I did.
where we had some other LCRIP money. And that was the catalyst for the current business case process that they're undertaking. It's not my job to comment on motions, but I do just raise the issue that they may say that this has already been considered and they're undertaking that business case. So,
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Right, everyone has spoken. Did Councillor Andrews, do you want to close the debate?
I do. I just want to wrap it up, and I appreciate what the CEO has just said, because it's an indication that in 2020 we had a council opportunity to tackle the jetty. And we could have been doing then what we're now doing, having petitions, lobbying the government. We had a mayor who was the candidate for the Liberal Party at the next council, next state election. We were in a far better position to lobby and put a pressure on the government than we are now. And it was the Premier of South Australia, who was the Liberal Premier, who declined to take any interest in our jetty. And it was the local member who told us that we should be waiting for the state strategic plan before we did anything. So we've been procrastinating for 2 years, in my case for 4 years. I just want to believe it's time to move forward, make some sort of decision and get something happening, because we owe it to that community out there. Because what you're effectively saying tonight, if you vote against this motion, what you're effectively saying to this community is that jetty will stay closed. It will stay closed. Not only for this summer, but at least until the end of the year and possibly forever. So here is an opportunity at least to start doing something. I listened to Councillor Elliott's comments about the Port Neal jetty. The 400,000 we looked at our own jetty here at Tumby Bay, we heard earlier tonight, we've moved beyond the maintenance process, we've moved beyond that. So that 400,000 is going to go nowhere. So we need more money. So that's why I'm suggesting that we bring the 300,000 we had at Port Neal and 400, combine it and add our our reserve fund to get that mechanised. Now, I just want to give you an indication to you that I've got another motion if I'm successful with this one. And I foreshadow that I will move that council submits a request for major variation of our successful phase 3 application or submits a new application in phase 4 round of LC Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program to provide sufficient funds to perform the maintenance report. The federal government's recent budget has increased that funding. So that's the motion that I'll move if I'm successful in this one, and that'll solve the Port Neal problem. That's what, more important than Port Neal, it'll get more money for them, because they need more money for their maintenance. But at this stage, we are in a difficult time. We've got to make some difficult decisions. We need to take the money away from Port Neal at this stage, put it together with a Tumby Main maintenance, and put our own reserve funds to it, and raise at least $1 million, which we can go to the government and say, well, this is what we're trying to do. Come to the party and help us. They might, one would hope that they give us a 50-50. So in other words, we get another $1 million. We've got $2 million to start to go out to tender. Hopefully, they want to prejudice the tender process, but hopefully the locals down the road can do the work, and we don't have to wait for the so-called barge that's currently been across the Sejourner and down to Streaky Bay and bypassed us on the way across to Kangaroo Island. We missed an opportunity there. We kept getting told we've got to wait for the barge and we've got to wait for materials. I want some action to happen. The community wants some action to happen. I encourage you to vote for the motion.
Thank you for closing the debate on that one, Councillor Randall. So, all those in favour? Thank you. All those against? So that's split, which calls on to myself. This is not a position that I ever wanted to be in, and it's incredibly difficult. I will be voting against the motion in front of us. It's not because I don't want the jetty open. I do desperately want the jetty open, and those who know me know that I swim off the jetty every day in summer, and it's very dear to my heart. I just don't believe that that is our best option moving forward with the numbers and the information that we've been provided.
Call for division.
No, you can't.
Call for division.
Absolutely. All those in favour, please stand for a division, please. So, Marcia, you just have to write that. So just where you've written motion, just backtrack is that and write division. Councillor Randall called for a division.
Yeah. What time we start?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if that's all right.
Yeah.
The agenda to do it in favour, councillor Randall and councillor Warren. Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Carrie. Not, but lost, sorry. Motion lost.
So councillors, moving forward, we do need, I would request a motion of direction for staff, unless you are happy to sit with the previous motion of the LRCIP funding requests. Councillor Tumby?
Is it possible to leave it on the table, or is it not?
You,
a motion?
you can leave it on the table if you lapse at the one this particular council finishes. And then I will need to do a report for the new council, their first meeting next Monday. Discuss the advise some of the matters that were on the table. So that's how that would work. Or you could potentially move a motion that this matter be directed to the new council at their first meeting. I think you should be able to do that. Just directing me to give us a report on that.
Well, I'd like to move a motion to put it on the table.
Sorry, what? There's nothing like what I would say. There's no motion. There's nothing on that.
Yeah.
Move and carry the suspension.
Nothing about it.
I'll have some questions.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, if the motions has been passed previously, that we expend that money, 300 on Port Hill, 400 on Tumby. So that remains. So you would need to lay that on the table because it's been approved. So from my perspective, if you'd like to give me some direction with respect to any further engagement with the state government, that would be of assistance, depending on how you would like to approach that as a council. If you don't want to change anything in regards to the current allocation of that grant fund money.
Because we've already put a motion to engage with the state government at the last council meeting. Still underway.
Yeah, no, I haven't written to them yet. I started drafting the letter, then the jetty got closed. I was obviously on leave. And so that has obviously changed the amount of money and potentially what you as a council would like me to approach and ask from the minister in regards to support. So I just wanted some more clarity in regards to what you would like me to, what you want me to ask of the minister in regards to the jetty.
Madam Mayor, as I said before, it doesn't matter what decision we make tonight, whether it's carried or it's lost. The new council next in a week's time to make any decision they want, so just leave it at that and let it be.
Right.
That's how it should be. We've let known what we think about it. Was it successful? Let the new council stand up and count it and see what they want to do. They want to be foreign or not us.
I was just seeking to see if you wanted any further clarification, any further engagement with the state government, anything else before we move on to the next report. Yeah, so we've got all the deputy CEO finance reports.
I suggest that, I don't know whether you need a motion or not, but you should visit the minister. The new mayor should take the deputy mayor, see the new minister. And we should take a representative of the lobby group that's been formed to go with it, see the minister. But for the lobby group to be effective, they've got to have information. We will shut the door on the information we can give them. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, but it's up to them. At least involve them. And the new mayor should call a public meeting so that the community understands what's happening, what's doing and why it's happening. Madam Mayor, with that, I intend to leave because I've done a lot of things for this council and I'm going to have that.
So if you could just note that Councillor Randall left the meeting at 6:44. so there's no more discussion on the jetty. We're going to move forward to page 58, the Deputy CEO reports. Over to you, Dion.
Okay, the first report is the audit completion report, which has been provided by Council's external auditors, Dean Newbury. So basically, at the end of the financial year, we do the close-off transactions and then prepare financial statements along with a number of other documents for the auditors to consider. They then come across, and in this case, I spent 2 days here working through the end of financial year reports and the draft financial statements, and they issued the audit completion report for council's consideration. It's a process they go through. Council then has to, in a later report, approve the authorisation of the financial statements, and then the auditors, having received that and the certificate from the audit committee, which was provided at the last audit committee meeting last week, they will issue the final report. Now, the audit was probably one of the smoother ones I've dealt with, and there was no changes in relation to the financials or the way the financial transactions have been performed and recorded. And the only item they did raise, other than some minor stuff, was the valuations for the land being split into category 2 and 3, which we went back to the valuer and they provided that, and that's going out and reported in that manner in the financials.
Are there any questions to Dion on this one?
I agree with Rob Randall. I don't know why I'm still sitting here. I really don't. I'm leaving too, but I can't do anything more for this council.
Can you at least?
No, I'm leaving right now. I've had 18 years of crap. I'm sick of it.
Can I have that noted, please, that Councillor Laurie left the meeting at 6:46. That's really cool. Lynn, are there any questions to our Deputy CEO for all of his hard work?
And the report's only for noting, so there's no action required.
I just want to say a big thank you. There's no enormous work that goes into getting that report done. So well done, and thank you. Page 70, the 2021-2022 financial statements.
Okay, so as I said, I'll prepare the draft statements. There's a legislative framework for those statements on how they're prepared. And basically, we receive a template which we populate with our information. The auditors then do their due diligence on those numbers. And we basically spend a couple of weeks preparing the documentation for them to consider in relation to the reports. And as I've said, it was quite a straightforward process. There was one change which they've requested, and that was that the asset renewal funding ratio is now determined by dividing the amount of money you spend on renewable assets by the amount that you said you would spend in your long-term financial plan. It used to take into consideration trading vehicles. That's now been dispensed with, and it's just the raw renewal spend, and so that's changed the numbers slightly. Those numbers have been also corrected for the previous 2 years on that basis. When I say corrected, I've been changed, so when incorrect, it's just a new way of doing it. And we need a motion recommendation there, which is for the Mayor and the CEO to sign the certification of financial statements to be sent back to the auditors.
Are there any questions first? No.
I'm the chair of the audit committee. Can I actually move this?
Yes.
And I will say the statements have been presented to the audit committee, and the auditor, one of the auditors that attended for the audit was actually attended the meeting via Zoom and was available to answer any questions at that stage and or raise any matters that they had an issue with, which they didn't have.
Very good. So we've got a recommendation in front of us. Do we need a mover and a seconder?
Move.
Thank you, Councillor Travers, the seconder. All those in favour? Carried. Page 117, management representation letter.
Yep, so this letter basically is a supplementary letter which the auditors require myself to complete and the CEO to sign. It comes as a template and then we amend it to reflect the various practices and the numbers that we use. So it's really us saying to the auditors that we've done everything in this report in accordance with the way it's outlined in this letter. And as practice, we generally put that report with the financial statements because it does provide a little bit more definition around if you're not really understanding the financial statements. This gives a bit of background knowledge on what the numbers are. And also included with that is a summary of significant variations, which basically just highlights any variances from last year to this year that are in excess of 10% or $10,000, which the auditors then potentially ask other questions about. But that's once again, they request that information, so it gives them a snapshot of what the major differences were. It's presented just for information. After the meeting, the CEO will sign it, so it'll be dated the same day as the certificate and will be sent back to the auditors.
Any questions on this one?
No, well, good.
Brilliant. On to page 128, this is for a decision.
Yep, so this is the first review of the 22-23 budget. As per normal practice, I've provided it in the financial statements, which are a registered requirement, as well as a cash analysis to give council a better understanding of where the lines have moved. The front page highlights that basically our operating deficit will have gone up. That's on the back of the fact that council has had to shift approximately 380,000 from capital works to basically maintenance of the road network, following the very wet winter and summer, or not summer, spring. And so basically capital works doesn't get included in the operating statement, but operation does. So shifting that amount into operational obviously means that you have a greater deficit at the end of the year. The operating surplus ratio obviously reflects that. The net financial liabilities ratio has gone down on the back of we no longer need to borrow any money under line 65 for the causeway because that came in under budget, and we had enough cash flow that we didn't need to borrow the secondary amount. And we've also sold 2 parcels of land which put cash into our financial statements, which basically means that the ratio, financial liability ratio, goes down. This is a ratio of liabilities versus assets changes based on that change of number. And the asset sustainability ratio has dropped as well because we've taken out that 300,000 of capital works. So that would have been sitting in that ratio of renewal works. No longer now, we've basically committed that we won't be able to do all of that work, so our ratio drops from what it was when we adopted. And the funds to future projects reserve has gone up because that's mostly on the back of the sale of those 2 parcels. And there is further information in the significant items, and we're happy to take any questions if there are any. And we need a recommendation to accept these changes, and then I'm required to update the budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions on any of the discussion detail?
No, we discussed these in the audit committee meeting just last week, so there are no questions from me.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Trevor, Councillor Elliott.
Just the 2 items, the $10,000 decrease available through part-time reserves and
Yep.
just an explanation.
Yep, so when we adopted the budget, you go through the budget process and it was adopted in early August. At that stage, we had an estimate of what reserve funds we have available. So basically, council, as you may be aware, council managed the financial side of the Tumby event last year. So we basically managed all the income and expenditure. The estimates at that stage were that there'd be about 18,000 unspent. However, a number of accounts surfaced after that, which I was unaware of at the time, and basically had to obviously pay them, and that reduced the deficit, the surplus down to 80,000. So what I've said here is that we had budgeted a certain amount for the Tumby event this year, which included income from grants, sponsorship and council allocation, plus the reserve funds. At this stage, we don't know what the final number will be, because we're still chasing, obviously, grants and sponsorship. However, for the sake of this budget review, I've decreased both numbers. So just the amount coming from reserve and the expenditure by the 10,000. So net effect is zero on the bottom line at this stage.
Any further questions? No, we've got a recommendation in front of us. Nicely mover. Thank you, Councillor Tumby, for seconder. Councillor Elliott, thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Beautiful. Page 152.
Yep, so finally a little bit of good news. Obviously, with interest rates rising considerably, I'm expecting that we will have a surplus in our budget line, which is investment income. At this stage, I'm projecting it to be about an extra 15,000. I'm hoping it'll be more than that, depending on what money we've got invested. I've also, since preparing this report, received the LGFA bonus payment, which was, I think, from memory, about 11,000. So that has been factored in, but probably not to that degree as well. So, yeah, I'm on the right spot.
Good to see it. Going the way.
Yeah, and all our loans are fixed at present, so we don't have the issue of worrying the cost of rising interest rates for loans.
Fixed term is 3.3%, I think, for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's the main one, yeah.
Which is excellent.
Any further questions to Dion? No? Excellent. That one's just for noting. We're just working through 14 other reports nil, 15 correspondence nil, 16 late correspondence nil, information table nil, items laid on the table nil, matters in confidence nil. Next meeting date is not for this council, but we will have it in the minutes for the new council, which is next Monday, the 14th. So before I close the meeting, I just again want to congratulate everyone who made it to the end of the meeting. We have attended this room over 100 times over the last 4 years at least. I couldn't tell you how many hours has been spent reading and putting our blood, sweat and tears into our community. So well done, councillors, and all the best for the future. Meeting closed at 6:57.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors.
And thank you, staff. And then next staff, I'm so sorry.
That's all right, we're ready.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, I didn't even thank the staff. Oh, I'm sorry.
We've got some food and drink to celebrate the last.
Brilliant. My keys in the bag in the kitchen.
Oh, that's
Yeah, genuinely, look, don't tell us that you're doing something like that.